Good day and greetings. This is Dr. Charles Cotter. I'd like to welcome you to episode 6 of the Management Makeover series. The focus of episode 6 is to unpack the performance equation as a tool to improve on team level performance. And in particular, I want us to look at the three variables: the employee motivation, employability, but also the working conditions and environment. You'll recall from the preceding 5 episodes that the focus of this particular series is to refine and to improve on our management and leadership skills in 7 identified principal areas. I hope that you'll extract significant value from this specific episode in terms of improving your team level performance to actualize towards a stage 4 of team maturity, a high performing team. And I also am hopeful that you'll join me for the 7th and final episode, which then cascades down to individual level performance by means of the performance matrix. Thank you.
I won't be too long with this. And again, we're not going to have time to do all the performance economics. We don't necessarily need to do all the mathematics. I just want to leave this with you post-training. And I think Michelle, in particular, being a scientist, you'll enjoy this tool because it's an analytical, it's a mathematical tool that we could use to quantify team-level performance. So when I talk about the performance equation, performance equals 3 variables. And the function that we use here is multiplication. And I would recommend that we keep it very simple. We use a 10-point rating scale. So what you need to measure, the first variable is, of course, the levels of team motivation on a 10-point scale. Whatever that rating is, you multiply that by the ability. So the competency, the knowledge, the skills, the attributes, the attitude, the values, the engagement that we spoke about on Club, but the ability levels similar to the hypo, the quality of employees within the team, within your work team, again on a 10-point rating scale, and then you multiply that by the environment. So when we talk about the environment, we need to look at this holistically. I'm not just talking about the physical, the infrastructure environment. We spoke about this yesterday. I think, Rose, you mentioned it. Ergonomics, the ergonomic environment. You've got to look at the social environment within the team, the relationship environment, the psychological environment. Remember, we spoke about earlier on in the week the importance of psychological safety. Your team must be a safe zone, not a red zone. It must be a safe zone for the team members. So look at emotional, psychological, look at the ergonomics, look at the working conditions, looking at working hours. I mean, a lot of teams are working long hours. They are sometimes very complaining in terms of not complaining about being overworked and underpaid. So the environment is sometimes toxic and the environment is not ideally conducive. So that will give you a total score of 1,000. So if you multiply it, 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10, the maximum that you can score is 1,000. Your grade 6 mathematics teacher will be very proud of you because you either knock your score back 1 decimal point or you divide it by 10 to give you a percentage. So let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you've done the analysis and you score 565 out of 1,000. That then translates to 56.5%. That score then is what we call your performance potential score, your PPS. You need to reconcile that with the performance target. So as a team leader, what is your expected performance target? It could be 75%, it could be 80%, it could be more ambitious, maybe even 85 or in the 90s. Whatever the expected performance target is, what you would then do is you take the PPS and you'd subtract the expected performance target. Let me give you an example. 56.5% is the PPS, 56.5%, and I just need to take out my calculator to get this 100% accurate. Again, this is just a hypothetical example. And as a team leader, I expect my team, because we want to be a hyper, I expect a minimum of 80%. So I would then say 56.5% subtract 80%, and that would then give me a score of, I don't know if you probably can't see it, minus 23.5%. The minus 23.5% is what we call your performance capability gap index, your PCGI. So you have your PPS and you have your PCGI. That is minus, negative 23.5%. That is unacceptable. I think you'll agree with me. The acceptable tolerance is minus 10 to minus 15%. Anything that falls beyond that threshold, that tolerance, minus 15%, would be unacceptable. You as a team leader, you need to frown upon that. I doubt whether you are going to lower your expected performance target. So the only way of reducing that negative differential is maybe to zoom in on the performance equation and then maybe isolate the scores that you rated out of 10. Where are the areas that we need to improve on? Because if we can improve on the PPS, we can then reduce the negative differential. Now, with your permission, I think in this learning program, we've exhausted motivation. In fact, we had a very good Cotter best practice yesterday with motivation. Yesterday, we also, particular question 6.4 and 6.5 of learning activity 6, where we looked at workplace learning. I think we looked a lot at learning and development growth. We used terms like empowerment. We looked at that social learning. We looked at on-the-job learning. We looked at the high-low. I think we've exhausted that as well. So the one variable that I would like you to focus on when you get to question 9.2 is the environment. So maybe you could just generally discuss in your teams, if you look at the environment, what would your rating be on a 10-point scale? And assuming that it's quite a low rating, what can we do then as team leaders to improve on the environment, to go from a toxic working environment maybe to a more conducive working environment? Again, spend about 6 or 7 minutes on that question. That's question 9.2. That is then, what can we do to reduce the negative PCGI by isolating and improving on the working conditions environment? How do we create this conducive working environment? When you give us feedback, that's what we would like to hear. Let's park motivation. I think we've exhausted that on this particular learning program. Let's also park ability. We've done that. Let's focus on the environment, the working environment, and all the facets attached to the working environment.
This is Dr. Charles Cotter signing out. I'd like to say thank you for viewing this very short video clip as part of the Management Makeover Leadership Series, episode 6, which dealt with the performance equation, the variables at team level performance, motivation, ability, but also looking at the working environment. At this point, I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube learning channel. I do appreciate your support in that regard. If you enjoyed the video clip, please like the video, share as widely as possible on your various social media platforms. And also, if you'd like to receive notifications of the upcoming episode, episode 7, the 7th and final episode of the series, which then deals with the unpacking of the performance matrix, look at individual level performance, please click on the notify bell in that regard. You'll also find me very active on social media. You'll find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also a free portfolio of my SlideShare presentations you'll find on the SlideShare platform. Again, I'd like to say thank you for your support, and I look forward to engaging with you with the 7th and final episode of the Management Makeover series. Thank you.